Rumor has it that his fall from grace started off with a serious addiction to snorting powerful powders, and that his obsession with these powdery substances led him to cast a rubric on his brothers. Subsequently, once his fellow brethren were turned completely to dust, he effectively had an unlimited supply of this pixie dust to snort. But all we know, he is called Ahzek Ahriman. Welcome on in, this is Spruce and Studs, and at long last we finally have the Thousand Suns that have arrived with the introduction of Ahzek Ahriman. And in this video, we will be taking a very close look at this special Chaos Sorcerer. And there's nothing to do except see what the wiles of Tzeentch has conjured up. What a gorgeous ruby red body. There seems to be a little bit of a twinkle, perhaps a glow, maybe a glint in Tzeentch's eye. Because when I'm looking at the armor, it is super shiny and glossy, which is something that I'm not used to when I'm reviewing these action figures because they're all matte most of the time. You can actually see the speckles of gold embedded in this red armor. And obviously, overall, there's a heavy influence of Egyptian culture with all the runes and the symbols that are all over Ahriman's armor. There's something a little bit more noble, something more regal about this action figure compared to the rest of the action figures that have been released to date. Anyways, let's review this action figure, shall we? So let's take a look at these horns. I don't know exactly what to call them, but we'll just say horns. There's a nice alternating colors of silver and blue that contrast well with the gold up top. And then Ahriman himself has this very pharaoh-like mask. There's an interesting iconography for the left eye that's kind of reminiscent of the Eye of Horus in Egyptian culture, especially with this area over here. And I do really like the blue metallic color. And I would have to say the painting on this is actually quite impeccable. So now let's take a look at the pauldrons, starting off with the left one. What's kind of weird about these pauldrons is that I think they're way more glossy or shiny than the rest of the red on the armor, which is a little bit jarring. I'm not exactly sure why is that happening, but it is what it is. So on the left side, you have the Pre-Heresy Thousand Suns chapter logo here with the white blazing sun. There's an excellent use of gold outlining to accent the armor. There's also these interesting iconography at the top of the pauldrons. And then down at the forearm area, there is a very bold looking white scarab. And then on the right side of the pauldron, there is a white eye that is the same color to the Thousand Suns logo, but there are 6 black triangles that radiate out from the eye that contrasts with the white, which I believe it is called the Eye of Magnus. So now as we are moving on to the center of this action figure, there are these very interesting, I'll just call them stoles on the side of it. There are like these Egyptian-like hieroglyphs that are carved into the plastic, and there are 2,000 sun symbols that are blazing at the end of the stole. And then moving on to the direct center of Ahriman, there is a scarab, and it is highlighted a blue color to give off like a very otherworldly glow that Tzeentch is definitely famous for. And then running down the center are these 4 very prominent blue glowing runes. And then the second rune right here is very similar to the one that Ahriman is sporting on his left eye. And I really love the contrast of the colors of red, gold, black, and blue on this area. It really draws the attentions to the center of the figure. Now we are at the waist area, and the first thing that we're going to look at is the tabard right here. And it looks a little bit more ornate than your average 40K tabard. There's an outline of black on the outside, followed by kind of like a middle area that has gold embroidery with these cool looking gold scarabs right here. And then finishing off with a tan area in the middle with some dark tan shading on this tabard area. And as you flip the tabard up, it is a complete flat black with some glitter right here. So now let's take a look at the Asphyx bolt pistol, What I find kind of sad about this bolt pistol is it's completely holstered. You cannot remove the pistol from the holster. It would have been nice to see it. But again, JoyToy is limited by the Mini that this thing is based off of. And I think in the Mini, this thing is also holstered. So you've got a scarab with 2 purity seal ribbons. It is rather simple looking, and it could be possibly the most disappointing thing on this otherwise very good looking action figure. And then on the opposite side, there are 3 scrolls that are bound by this leather strap at the waist of Ahriman. There's very light shading in the creases of the scrolls. I believe that these scrolls could have used a little bit more shading, but it's not very noticeable because it is covered by the arms and actually set in the back of this action figure like so. So now let's take a look at the legs of Ahriman, and just like with the rest of the armor, it has gold glitter embedded in the armor. It's glossy, and there's a regular looking purity seal that is hanging down. However, there's this gold area that's running down the middle of the knee, down to the shin of the action figure. And each side of it, which is really cool, has its own unique set of runes. The back of the action figure is obviously dominated by the backpack and the cape. I'll have to say the cape looks very lifelike and looks like it's flowing with the winds of change. What I find interesting is that there's really no highlighting on the cape, which is a surprise. Usually JoyToy puts highlighting on the highest edges here, and it's noticeably absent. However, when you turn around and look at the front side, you can see that there is embroidery ingrained in the plastic of the cape. There is nice shading on the front side right here, which gives more depth to the cape. And there are also nice runic symbols on each side of the cape. Now with the cape, it's not really detachable. It's actually fixed to the armor by these 2 scarabs right here on the backpack, and then 2 scarabs on the body of the armor as I'm pointing to it right now. The backpack, it looks more dynamic than your average looking Space Marine backpack. There's nice little gold adornments on the top. You've got this Thousand Suns logo cleverly integrated in the middle of the backpack. But the top 2 rays are actually very interesting in that they are black compared to the rest of the sun being white down here. The backpack is removable, as you can see here, but it remains attached to the body of the figure due to the 4 scarabs that are on the back of this action figure. So now let's look at the Corvidaean scepter. So the top of this thing looks exactly like a khopesh with a wicked sickled blade. The blade itself looks properly Egyptian with the scarab on the top of it, and it has these alternating nice bands of blue and gold. There's heavy weathering on the blade of the scepter with the use of silver dry brushing over the top of the gunmetal metallic. I think the use of the colors are fantastic with the blue, golds, and blacks and gunmetal. It is a very, very dynamic looking weapon in my opinion. And then down here, there is a kind of like soft plastic rosary type beads attached to the scepter right here. And at the end are these gold scarabs. The scepter then literally ends with a bright silver spear point. And so the in-depth review is finished. It is time to wrap it up. Well, fellow members of the chapter, I would have to say this is a truly exceptional action figure that I'm just going to straight up recommend you guys to buy, even if you are not a Thousand Suns fan or a Horus Heresy fan. There is so many good things about this action figure, it really surprises me. I'm very, very impressed with the Corvidaean staff right here. It looks like your Egyptian khopesh with almost excruciating detail. I love the armor of Ahriman too, which is like this bright candy apple red that I love on cars. And the runes on the action figure are just so unique. And I love how the center runes just glow with like this eerie blue hue to it. So there are just so many good things about this action figure. I just can't stop raving about it. If this is a portent of the quality of what the Thousand Suns are going to be for the future Horus Heresy line, I think that the Thousand Suns line is going to have a very, very great future ahead of it. But at any rate, if you are interested in picking up this action figure, you can buy it at David Toys, where I get every single one of my action figures. They have the best customer service and very quick turnaround shipping times to get these action figures to your door at lightning quick speed. So if you're interested, just click on the link in the description below, and do not forget to use the code SNS to receive 12% off of your purchase. Once again, members of the chapter, thank you so much for your subscriptions, your likes, your comments, and just engaging in dialogue. It really helps the channel so much, and I am very appreciative of you all. And with that being said, I'll see you all in the next one.